Don't make a sound. People fail me now. I got to stand my ground, my ground. I know I'm not the giant. Don't fail me now.
Hello there, you are watching Inside the WSL, and this week we have a very special episode with you. It is absolutely jam-packed with legends, and that's because the first ever Barclays FAWSL Hall of Fame inductees have been announced. Emma Hayes, Kelly Smith, Rachel Yankee and Farrah Williams have all blazed a trail in the women's game, and you'll be hearing from each and every one of them throughout the show. We'll be delving into just what has made their careers so successful.
I am the greatest, heavyweight champion status. They trying to hold me down, but I made it. They trying to hold me down, but I made it. They trying to hold me, I am the greatest, heavyweight champion status. They trying to hold me down, but I made it. They trying to hold me down, but I made it. They trying to hold me.
Yeah, some incredible inductees named in the first ever Hall of Fame. And to discuss it all with us this week is Aston Villa defender Anita Asante. And I mentioned legends. Former England winger Sue Smith is back on the show. Good to see you both. How are you?
Very good, Jess. Great to be here. How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing really well. Sue, I've had withdrawals. It's really good to be back on air with you.
Jess, it's so good to be back. I've missed you, but I've been watching the show every week, tuning in. You've been doing a brilliant job.
Ah, thank you. I'll pay you for that compliment later. Okay, let's hear from our first inductee, Farrah Williams, England's most capped player, of course. She's been speaking to Caroline Barker about how her footballing journey started.
So that start is you legging it back with your brothers from Stamford Bridge to play in the cages?
It did. Massive Chelsea fan, and yeah, we used to go every home game. Literally, it'd probably take us, like with my uncle and my auntie, a bit lazy at the time, take us over maybe 30 minutes to walk, and literally on the way home, 5 minutes. It'd be like, see you later, we're running home, and in the cage, and yeah, whichever footballer was good that day, we wanted to be, and there's loads of names, but I won't name them in case the younger players these days don't know who they are.
Oh, well, I'll know.
You might. John Spencer, we were Robert Fleck, Mark Hughes. There was loads. I mean, even Mark Steen, I was in sometimes. He went on an 8-game, he scored like 8 games in a run. So it was, at the time, it was a record for Chelsea. So yeah, he was up there.
There's the immediate change to now. There's all these fellas that you're idolising, you know, these male footballers that are there. Didn't have those female footballers that you could look to on telly and think, I want to be you.
No, exactly that. And it was them, you know, if I didn't go and watch Chelsea men, I don't think I'd have had a role model in football to aspire to kind of be like. I used to go home, as I say, and want to be them. Now for young girls, the fact that it's visual for them to be able to see on TV, it's now in the media in terms of newspapers you can pick up. It's fantastic. They now can role model themselves on some of these female players, which is taking its time, but we're there. And it's exciting for the future, these young players coming through. Tell
me about flicking through a programme and seeing that opportunity to join the team.
Yeah, so I actually got scouted for Fulham, so I was there for 1 year, but I was underage. And obviously being massive Chelsea fans in our family, playing for Fulham and having to put that shirt on, you can imagine. And especially my uncle was Chelsea through and through. It wasn't a great start to my career in terms of the women's game. But
did they ever come and watch?
No, never. No, I had to get the bus over to Putney. But yeah, and then there was a small, literally, it must have been this big in a Chelsea programme. You can imagine how many pages in the programme. It was that big. And they were looking for players. And so yeah, I took the opportunity to go and trial. I turned up to the trial like 20 minutes, I think, before the end. Bearing in mind it was a 3-hour trial.
Why?
Because I took the wrong bus. I'm such a dope. You know what? That learned me that I need to start listening. And I knew from a young age, and it didn't get better probably till the end of my career, but I wasn't the best of listeners and I took the wrong bus. Even to this day, I think I was meant to get a 163 and I got the 164. Yeah, and I was on the other side of where the fields were. Instead of going back to the station and starting again, I walked from wherever I was, so yeah.
From that point, how does that then progress? So what happens when you get to Chelsea?
I never wanted to leave. I was like, I love putting a shirt on. I wanted to be 25 because of Zola. So I wanted to wear number 25. They obviously didn't have a number 25. And there was a spare number 4 shirt that nobody wanted. And I was like, okay, I'll be number 4. And then we signed Ruud Gullit. So it was like, I was buzzing. I was like, no one wants his number 4 shirt. Now we've got one of the best players out there. And I was number 4 and tried to carry that through. But it was difficult at Chelsea because we were really pushing to try and get into the Premier League. We were 1 league below. We lost out on goal difference. And just as, we were just really, really close. And I'd got selected for England at 17. And I was at Chelsea at the time. And I remember Hope saying to me, you need to be playing Premier League football if you want to stay within, the international setup at senior level. And then I had to make the decision to leave Chelsea, which I didn't want to do. But in order to progress my career, I had to go and leave and go to Charlton. So that was really tough because, as I say, being a Chelsea supporter and putting that shirt on every single week, to have to change and put a different shirt on wasn't the easiest decision for me.
You mentioned Hope there, Hope Powell, the then England manager. Throughout your career, she's been instrumental, and I don't just mean on the pitch. Can you tell us about a little bit what Hope has given you?
Yeah, she's good. She's somebody that certainly given me some direction, not just in football but in life, through difficult moments off the pitch. She's been my go-to, somebody that supported me. Even now, I still speak to Hope regularly. She helps me on my coaching path. She's now my coach mentor. Probably was my player mentor. She was everything. She was literally everything to me. Somebody that when I was homeless during my football period, which is, I've made aware for people, she was the one person that would be on the end of the phone, call in, make sure I'm eating, make sure everything's okay, do I need any money? The things that probably nobody knows about Hope, she was the one person that was always there. You need a bit of self-belief and drive. But I certainly think to get to the top and for all those different challenges, even the challenge in the cage, and even when I was younger, like I'm from a family, 1-parent family, 4 kids, similar ages. So you can imagine it was really difficult for my mum, 1, to make sure we was all okay, 2, to make sure that I got to football without her having to leave 3 kids at home. So that was quite difficult. She had to make sacrifices. I had to accept some of the stuff that went on in order for me to get to football. But she certainly made the most sacrifices for all of us to enable us, and enable me certainly, to go and pursue my career.
What would that little girl with her brothers trying to elbow the others out in that cage think about the fact that you're one of the first into the Hall of Fame?
I don't even know. I know when the guys, the girls that I used to hang around with on the cage, when they see it, like even now when they say it, I can't believe how well you've done. I'm really proud, and I know when I tell my mum, she'll be even proud, and that's all I set out to do once I was given the freedom to go and play football, was to make my mum as proud as I could. And I certainly know that I didn't know during, she's somebody who always kept me on my toes, but certainly playing my last game here at the Majeski when she was here, and just her saying those words meant everything. And obviously when I tell her this, she'll be buzzing.
Brilliant chat there between Caroline Barker and Farrah Williams. Now, Sue, I'm not sure people realise just how long Farrah has been playing at the top level, 20 years. How would you sum her up as a player?
Just unbelievable. Just listening to that interview as well, that the fact that she's not had the easiest journey, and yet, she's showed that resilience, that hard work, that fight, I suppose, to get to the top, but then to stay at the top. Because I think we all say it's difficult to get to the top, all the hard work that you have to put in, but then to stay there and to still be that top quality player for so many years is unbelievable. And I think if I had to describe Farrah as a player, I'd say technically so gifted, left foot, right foot. You knew that if you made a run, she would find you because she had that vision, that awareness, that quality on the ball to be able to find you. And the other thing is she was able to solve problems on the pitch. So I think a manager's dream to have a player on the pitch that if something's going wrong, she was able to solve it. So she was a real student of the game, if you like, and she's continued that now. So thoroughly deserved, brilliant person, brilliant player.
Yeah, wow, that's a glowing reference. Anita, looking at everything that Farrah has won, her footballing ability is clear. She's achieved so much in her career. But what's she like to share a dressing room with? What's she like to be around?
Oh, for me, I mean, Farrah is just an incredible person on and off the pitch. And over the years, when I've managed to share a dressing room with her at England, she was a leader. She had complete belief and confidence in herself, but in the team. And as Sue mentioned, she was a student of the game. So her ability to problem solve, help players around her, and also just inspire players like myself when I was a younger player is just testament to her ability as a footballer and her character.
Yeah, Sue, you mentioned her vision as a player, and she was known for her visionary passes, wasn't she? And she'd even pop up with a goal or two. One of my favourite goals from Farrah Williams is this one back in 2014 when she was with Liverpool. Like, David Beckham, who? That is absolutely outrageous. And, young girls watching that, it's just brilliant, isn't it? And Farrah mentioned in her interview there that her football idols were all men. But I bet now, having seen her play, young girls around the world will be wanting to emulate Farrah Williams, won't they?
Oh, definitely. And what a goal that was. And like I said, it's the vision and the awareness to see that that's an option, but then to have the quality to execute it. And like myself and Neets will know that we obviously played with her for a long time at England, and we know that quality that she has. You didn't know if she was left-footed or right-footed. And like I said, if you made a run, you knew that she would find you. But one thing I'd add to what was Farrah like as a teammate, she never stopped talking. She would chat and chat and chat. But yeah, absolutely brilliant person.
Yeah, you can attest to that, can you, Anita?
She still doesn't stop talking, I think. But she's funny as well. Like, she just has great banter as well and a good energy about her. And that goal is just incredible. But that's the sort of player she was. She was a game changer, with her vision in terms of her passing ability and range, but scoring goals. She scored some important goals in major games and competitions throughout her career, and that's why I love playing with her as a player as well.
Yeah. Wow. Brilliant. Okay, lots more chatting about legends when we come back after the break. We have two more Hall of Famers coming your way. Rachel Yankey called up with her former teammate Kelly Smith, or should I say silent assassin?
I'd say Rachel was more like the banterish kind, just having a laugh, and that's how she relaxed before a game, whether it was telling a joke or just having conversations with people. We were always kind of bubbly and around it, whereas I think I was a little bit different. I was a little bit more reserved.
Yeah, I think you were like a silent assassin.
Welcome back to Inside the WSL. Sue Smith and Anita Asante still with us. Now, we've heard from Farrah Williams already. Let's hear from two more Barclays Women's Super League Hall of Fame inductees. Kelly Smith, England women's record goal scorer. She caught up with her former teammate Rachel Yankey, who won, get this, 28 major club honours during her career. But did you know, before they were teammates, before they were friends, they were actually rivals?
It's a huge honour, especially when you look at the list of people that are on the panel. Yeah, I feel a bit humbled, and thank you to them for obviously thinking of me.
It makes me feel really, really pleased, really honoured. I've just had such a brilliant career. I loved everything that I did and what I achieved. So to receive this inductee is just a really special moment for myself and my family.
I remember like early years, obviously, growing up, Mill Hill, Pinner Park, the rivalries, playing in those sort of five-a-side days, and then obviously together at Arsenal, playing in the same team, linking up and with England. So yeah, it's nice that we get inducted together.
Yeah, we've come on a long journey together.
Yeah.
To share this journey with you, and when we set out playing, we never thought we'd ever be in this position. You just want to play football and have fun with your friends, and we've certainly done that over the years, I feel.
No, definitely. I think it's been, it has been a journey, and I think people from the outside will always, when they speak about women's football, when they speak about us, our names sort of pop up. So it's nice to be recognised together by other people, the people on the panel, to obviously select us and say that we done great things in our time of playing. We just set out to play football, didn't we? I mean, The only goal was to go and win the game and get the
Yeah.
points for the team and try and, you know, score goals, set up goals, and, you know, just play. Yeah.
I just remember Rachel just having a wonderful left foot and just being so quick and skillful in tight areas and scoring goals, and she was always the player to stop. And it was always battles between Pinner Park and Mill Hill. Very close games.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But we kind of, like, such rivals, we kind of the two teams hated each other, didn't they? But obviously then we moved on from that. And then had a
I
friendship.
think, you know, even at a young age, in those five-a-side days, everybody, when you're watching, you still went, oh, Kelly. You know, how could she do that? How could she do that? So, you know, you were still spoken about by all the parents, by all, do you know what I mean, the players watching. So it kind of never changed. So it's a real, it's nice to see, do you know what I mean, that your career and my career, we both sort of just gone on the same sort of journey.
I'd say Rachel was more like the banterish kind, just having a laugh, and that's how she relaxed before a game, whether it was telling a joke or just having conversations with people. We were always kind of bubbly and around it, whereas I think I was a little bit different. I was a little bit more reserved.
Yeah, I think you were like a silent assassin. But when you got out on that pitch, it was you know, there was a switch. There was just a different side of you that wanted to change. But equally, I think, although even when you wore the captain's armband, you weren't necessarily the most vocal, but when you said something, everyone listened, and I think that's powerful. So, you know, I think again, we're very different, but you can get people to buy into what we do and what we say because of how we were. And
leading by example on the pitch.
Yeah.
And certainly when Rachel got the ball, she made things happen. You know, as soon as she got the ball at her feet, she could take players on. She had such quick pace that nobody could stop her. The only way that they could stop you was to foul you. And I think every time you got fouled, it made you more angry. And I think when you're angry, you played better at times.
Yeah.
And, you know, crossing was phenomenal, popping up with goals here, there and everywhere. So just to share the pitch with you was just an amazing, amazing...
Don't make me cry, don't make me cry.
And obviously we had stints abroad too. Canada, USA, so it just seemed like your path was kind of set out for you. Obviously, we had to leave the country, didn't we? Because we wanted to be professional, and it wasn't at that time professional in England. So our paths kind of went separate, but then we've come back to...
Yeah. Well, I think you definitely went down like the scholarship route, where, you know, that was the right path for you, and you know, you went and smashed it at like work out there. So yeah, no, I obviously stayed back here, stayed at Arsenal, and yeah, and then it sort of comes aligned. But end of the day, I think, you know, it was playing for England was probably the one of, you know, playing for Arsenal and what we did, what we achieved was amazing. But playing for England, you know,
can't top it.
Yeah, it's, you know, I definitely didn't ever think those days of playing at Kingsbury in the five-a-side that we'd go on to play for England. I didn't think that was achievable, and I'm pleased now that young girls coming through can have an end goal. You know, can have a career pathway, can see the future.
Well, they certainly can see it, can't they? Because there's a professional league now in our country, and it's one of the best leagues, if not the best league in the world. I mean, when we first started out, I didn't know that there was an England team, so there was no role models or nobody to look up to, because you just couldn't see it. There was hardly anything in the papers, never on TV. But then when I did find out there was an England squad, that was my main goal, to try and crack that.
Similar to you know, in a boys' team, you're not allowed to play. If someone finds you a girls' team, then you realise that this kind of like secret world of women's football, that there's so many other people, that so many other girls out there that play football, and you're like, oh, what's going on? Then I realised there's an Arsenal team, there's an England team. It's like, what's going on here? How am I an Arsenal fan and I never even knew this?
And the type of players that we had in that squad for Arsenal, I still look back on it now and see the team picture and think, wow. You know, Faye White, Jane Ludlow, Kira Grant, Julie Fleeting, Leanne Sanderson, Kaz Carney, Gemma Davison's just a few names on and just a phenomenal side. And to think that we've played with those players is brilliant.
That's why, I mean, it's nice to be recognised, and it's nice to be one of the first in obviously this Hall of Fame. But there's so many more. Obviously, people that didn't get an opportunity to play WSL, but people that will be in this Hall of Fame coming out of that team. That's just incredible players. I'd look back at 2007, like that quadruple winning team at Arsenal. I don't even think we appreciated and realised how good we were.
No, definitely not.
And I don't think the outside public really appreciated what that team did. And I don't think the achievements of that team are really recognised enough. And
yeah, I'd have to agree with you. That was a special season, and like you said, it doesn't. When you're in it, you didn't know it. It's not until you look back on it and you look at the pictures and think about how we delivered in those big games, and week after week was just phenomenal. But for me, I think 2007 World Cup. I think for a number of years we both were trying to qualify for England. And so close, but we'd always get knocked out in a playoff just before we reach a Euros or a World Cup, and we managed to do that in France, in Rennes. It was always my dream to walk out on the biggest stage, and for me the World Cup is the ultimate, always has been. And to do that with England in Shanghai, and we got the draw against Japan, nearly won, but yeah, that World Cup was phenomenal because you're showcasing your talent on the biggest stage in the world, and obviously we got knocked out in the quarterfinals to the USA. But I think just to experience that as an England squad and gone through that journey with those set of players of almost doing it to then with actually on the big stage to perform. Yeah,
no, definitely. I think it was. It's like a bittersweet that World Cup because I still believe we should have gone better. But yeah, no, definitely getting there, reaching that final, having missed out. Before.
Heartbreak so many times.
Yeah.
Oh. Kiss a hug.
Come on. So good to see that they're still great friends after all these years. Okay, so Sue, Anita and I will all be delving into both Kelly and Rachel's careers after this short break. And I know I keep mentioning legends, but look, after the break, former Arsenal boss Vic Akers himself will be joining us. Stay with us. Hello, you're watching Inside the WSL, the Barclays FAWSL Hall of Fame special. And joining Sue, Anita and I now, I mentioned legends because it is the former head coach of Arsenal Women and their founder, Vic Akers. Vic, great to have you on the programme. Now, I know you probably recognise both of our guests, one of whom you coached, and the other you tried to coach, but apparently she wasn't having any of it when you tried to sign her.
Unfortunately, no. That was one of my failings, that I missed out on such a player. But obviously, she was a wonderful player, and any time we played against her, she always performed to her highest levels. And as I say, really one of my regrets. But it certainly wasn't hers, because she went on and made a fantastic future to her football career, and played many internationals, and it was a credit to the game.
There you go, Sue.
That's amazing. Do you know what? It is actually one of my regrets not being coached and managed by you, Vic, because I certainly would have. I've got a few more trophies, I think, in my cabinet if I'd have done that. Unbelievable manager and coach that's won everything. So yeah, I know that's very nice of you to say, but yeah, I certainly do regret that.
And I love the game so much, and I was always passionate again about the game. That was why I got involved. So, and the girls know that anyway. So,
and probably one of the reasons, then, Vic, like me, you were on the panel for the Hall of Fame inductees, and I don't know about you, but I found it really tough actually to put forward my submissions. But one of those, of course, who we heard from earlier, was Kelly Smith. She won so much throughout her career, both domestically and even on an international level, playing in a European final, representing Great Britain at the Olympics as well. She's often described as a generational talent, Vic. You coached her. Yeah. Was it like a natural God-given talent, or was it hard work?
No, it's never hard work to coach people like that. You don't really coach them, because at the end of the day, their natural ability is there to be seen, and all they do is take the pitch and let them go, and that's how Kelly was. I'm just astounded that she never ever got a Ballon d'Or or something from Europe recognised, and I'm still quite sad about that because I think that, you know, she deserved it. For me, she was the best player in the world at a certain time when she was with us, and paramount in getting us to the final of Europe.
She was instrumental, wasn't she, that season for Arsenal in getting you to the final?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, right the way through the season, I think we went unbeaten and won all 4 trophies, and that speaks for itself, really. The group I had was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, and a fantastic bunch of girls and women.
What did you learn, Anita, from playing alongside Kelly?
Oh, a number of things. You know, like Rachel mentioned in her VT, she just led by example on the pitch. You know, she had confidence to take players on, and she had a magic left foot. But I think it's her intelligence. You know, she just knew how to, you know, drop a shoulder and beat pressure and have the peace of mind to score some wonder goals that most players wouldn't even think of, you know, doing or shooting from that kind of a range. So I'll never forget, you know, playing with her in the World Cup, and I wasn't expected to start a game. I came in and I felt like, you know, I wasn't quite in the game, and she just turned around to me and said, "Come on, you got this, and I know what you can do." And it just inspired my whole game for that rest of the game against Japan. And that's what I mean about her ability to lead. You know, when she spoke, I listened, and so did everyone else on the team, because we had such high respect for her and her ability as a player and what she's achieved over her very long career.
Yeah, I mean, talking of achievements, Rachel Yankee has achieved a fair few things as well, Vic. You've coached, you've coached Rachel Yankee. What made her such a devastating winger? Probably something to do with that wand of a left foot she had.
Yeah, she was. But just before I go on to Rachel, can I just add that probably the greatest accolade that we could have given her at Arsenal was Thierry Henry coming to me before training one morning and speaking of the girls' team, and he had watched the games, and he said, Kelly Smith, he said, she could play in men's football. He said that's the only girl I've ever recognised that would be able to play in men's football. And I thought that was probably the finest accolade she could have ever had.
What do you think he saw in her?
Same as what we all did. Same as what we did. I mean, we're all, you know, so complimentary of her. And then I saw her playing in the Metropolitan Five-a-Sides at Wembley, if you remember. Well, some of you won't because you weren't born. But obviously watching those, and she was such a sort of special person, special player, even at that age. It was amazing. But yeah, great player, Kelly, and a lovely person as well.
Yeah. Thinking about Rachel Yankee now and the fact that you obviously coached her as well, Vic. She said in that interview that she doesn't feel like the quadruple achievement was, I suppose, recognised as much as she expected it to be. It wasn't celebrated as much as it deserved to be. What do you think?
Yeah, probably she was right, but obviously there wasn't the interest even at that point in the game as there is now, thanks to television and the FA's response to everything. You know, Kelly Simmons, and you've got to take your hats off to her because in her group, because, you know, having something like a Hall of Fame for these girls is fantastic, you know. But I do worry about the girls that are not mentioned because they never had the opportunity to play in the WSL. And I hope that they're not forgotten in all of this as well, because there were some marvellous players prior to these girls as well, who should have been recognised and hopefully will be. You know, the Jill Coulthards and people like that, Marianne Spaces of this world, Pauline Cope, absolute mad woman, but fantastic goalie in the end. And you know that this is the way they were, but they were such great people that you work with, and it made my job a complete pleasure. And
what
Rachel,
are your best
obviously,
memories then?
Of football itself, or women's football?
Of coaching Arsenal women.
well, obviously our greatest year was 2007. To win all 4 trophies was phenomenal. And to win Europe, I mean, we were fortunate to win Europe. I know that, and the girls knew that. Balls were bouncing off the bar and bouncing off the post onto the back of the goalie's head and going wide. And Emma Byrne couldn't believe what she was in there. But, when Alex scored the goal out there to put us 1 up, it was 2 minutes to go. And Emma Hayes and I, Emma works on the line with me, and we're screaming at Alex. He's gone running past us, and there's a clear way to the 18-yard box. And as she's getting to the 18-yard box, we're both saying to her, shoot, shoot. And she shot, and it's gone flying in the top corner. And we went, oh, this is it. And the whistle blew a minute later, and there we are. We've snatched the win, and we're going back 1-0 up.
Fantastic win. And I suppose it helps having a player of Rachel Yankee's quality in your team, Vic. Kelly Smith mentioned in that interview that she was one for the banter. How did you find her personally to get along with off the pitch?
Off the pitch, always great. We often have lunch now together, and she brings the baby along, and we sit in Sainsbury's restaurant over in London Colney and go through old times, and we're joined by 1 or 2 of the other girls. And I know she comes up, Rebecca Spencer, who's at Tottenham now. We have a nice time, and it's nice to meet up with the girls because they like to keep in touch as well, which they always do. A lot of the girls keep in touch. Steffi out and still texts me, and Kaz Carney on a regular basis, and it's so nice. It's nice for me because obviously you don't feel like you've just been swiped to the side, as it were. And no, it's lovely to have that connection still. And Rachel was exactly the same. She's a good mum and a lovely woman.
Thanks, Vic. It's been really lovely to hear all those memories from you. Sue, Anita, don't go anywhere because after the break, we'll be hearing from our 4th and final inductee, Emma Hayes. And I think, do you know what? I think this might be the first time I've ever seen Emma Hayes shocked by something.
The company that you're keeping in this Hall of Fame at the moment, Farah Williams, Rachel Yankee, Kelly Smith.
4 of us?
Yeah.
Just 4?
Yeah.
Welcome back. You're watching Inside the WSL. Sue and Anita are still with us for this very special Barclays FAWSL Hall of Fame episode. Now, we've spoken about Kelly Smith, we've spoken about Rachel Yankee, and Will's 4th inductee isn't actually a player. She's a trailblazing coach. She's been setting records in the WSL for the best part of a decade. Chelsea boss Emma Hayes sat down with Lindsay Hooper to discuss how she's built the club from the ground up.
Emma, congratulations on being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Going back, I'm going to ask you to lean on those memory cells for a second. Do you remember the moment or a moment when you thought you would become a coach?
Oh, that's a good question. Maybe coaching my university pals. But even though I was playing, I just got pushed to the sidelines because nobody could organise them, and they didn't want to be organised because they were too busy having a good time. And I fast realised no one's turning up on time, the balls are not here, the kit isn't washed, and I sort of got myself into a place naturally, and I thought maybe this is something I'd be interested in doing. That's probably the first moment.
Standard's very important. You don't like sitting still either. You're not going to rest.
I want to get up now.
9 years at a club is a long time, and you speak to a lot of coaches. Sometimes they find that perfect fit and it's like a marriage. Is that how it feels for you and Chelsea?
Yeah, 100%. I think all the way up to the top, from the owner to the board to every department, all the way down. I think because I've been a part of the build from the start, I've been able to build relationships across the club as the team has grown. And my goal has always been what I leave behind. That's what I've worked for, is that when I go, the foundations are there and built to last for a long time.
Let's speak about success. You've had a lot of it in the WSL, 4 league titles. Was it more difficult getting that first one over the line, or do you think maintaining success is the real challenge?
It's all relative. Of course, the first one is the hardest at the time. I think it's easier once we'd lost it the year before. I think it became easier to win it. I think when you get into winning positions, you know what it takes to win, and you know what it feels like, so you want more of it. But you also know that, and we have had years we haven't won, we know what that feels like. I'm surrounded by so many people in this environment, the playing squad, the staff, where we take it in turns to drive that standard. We might have an off day, but it's never two.
You're the only coach in this Hall of Fame inductee
Wow.
list. Does that feel special?
Yeah, of course, I'm really honoured and surprised. But, you know, I think only when my career's done will I reflect on what we've achieved. I just feel so honoured, not just that Chelsea gave me this opportunity, but I just represent so many amazing human beings, and I love them all, because this is the most caring, thoughtful, considerate, competitive, driven environment a person could wish for. And as a coach, I've always thought I was incredibly lucky.
You've been coaching, you've become a mum.
Yeah.
You've got Harry now that you have to think about too.
Yeah. Being a parent is the hardest job in the world. So for me, when I now drop him off at nursery and come here, it's almost like a release, because that part of getting my child out of bed and into school is what every parent experiences. I want him to grow up knowing that it's normal for women to work in football. And I always tell this story, whenever he watches the men's team play on the television, he watches Thomas pop up, he says, "Mummy, where are you?" Because he's so used to seeing that visual that that's one of my big motivators, that young men, young boys like my son grow up where they see women in the positions I'm in, and that's just normal for them.
What state is the WSL and the top league in compared to when you started?
Oh, huge strides have been made in the 10 years. The work that we have all done, clubs, FA, broadcasting, press, everybody together, and the players, of course, to put us where we are, is the reason why we are the best league in the world. I think there's been a real unified effort, and I never felt that when I worked in America. I think here everybody's really pulling in the same direction, and I think we've been able to make bigger strides because of it.
Thank you to Lindsay Hooper for that brilliant interview with Emma Hayes. Now, Sue, I wonder, because Emma's got obviously all the top qualifications, but you need more than that, don't you? It's not just about having the badge to be a good coach. What is it about her personality that has made her so successful, do you think?
She's got everything, hasn't she? And it's thoroughly deserved again. I just think the fact that she's meticulous in her planning and her preparation, she's always trying to find sort of new ideas and innovative ways of getting the best out of a team, and maybe getting that extra 1% that makes her team better. I've heard that she's very intense in that training week, but then when it comes to a game, it's just limited. So just a few little pointers on the players, because she knows that they don't want a lot of information overload on that game day. And obviously we know that she's tactically astute, being able to change things within a game. But what I think is key is keeping players happy. The fact that she's got a squad of world-class players, you've got world-class players sat on the bench. It's so difficult to keep all of them players happy, and yet they're together. And I think the next thing for her, she's desperate to win the Champions League with this set of players. She got to the final last season. There's no secret that she wants to go and do that. But yeah, what an achievement, and thoroughly deserved.
Yeah. You mentioned about, her coming up with new ideas. Anita, I read that ahead of the 2015 FA Cup final, she grew some pink roses for the players and actually gave them to the players ahead of the match, and also chose a poem for them to read just to get them in the right mindset. She always seems to be thinking outside the box. I mean, you were coached by her for a number of years. Would that be fair to say she thinks outside the box?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Emma's always been a coach that is super passionate, really driven, and is ambitious. And I think she's, shown that through the way she's built Chelsea as a club up to the point of which they're one of the best teams in Europe. And, when I played for her, her thinking outside of the box is what made players feel that personal and special connection to not only her, but everything that she's set up and the standards that she's set up within the club. And that's another reason I think that, when we talk about how does she keep players happy? Well, I think she keeps players happy because she keeps on pushing the boundaries. She keeps on driving the standards. And that's from, the facilities to the recruitment of staff, the recruitment of top quality players, and the connection throughout the club with the ownership. And players, we've all fed into that. We've all believed in the project. And that's one reason why all the players want to be there, because they know they're going to be able to showcase their talent at one of the best clubs in the country, let alone in Europe.
Yeah. And, she's got the stats to back that up in terms of what she's won during an incredible career. 8 major trophies she's won at Chelsea. She's taken charge and won more WSL matches than anyone else. She's been named Manager of the Year more than anyone else. I wonder, though, Sue, in years to come, where do you see Emma's career? Could she be England manager? Could she be in the professional men's game? Or perhaps will she still be with Chelsea winning things?
Do you know, she can do whatever she wants, and I think that's the positive thing, that whatever Emma Hayes wants to do, she'll be successful at it. So whether that's being the England manager, whether that's going into the men's game, or whether that's continuing with Chelsea and winning more things, because I think when you're such a top quality manager, you've got all of those attributes that we've just spoken about. She could do whatever she wants, and I'm sure it's whatever challenge she wants. She showed, her tactical knowledge when she's gone on TV and she's been a pundit and a co-commentator. But you see it week in, week out when you watch Chelsea play. You see how she can just adapt things within a game and change things, whether that's personnel or whether that's a system. And that's a real skill. So that can be applied through anything, whether it's in men's football, women's football, it's international football. So it's whatever she wants, really.
Absolutely brilliant. Anita, Sue, it's been great to have you, Sue. It's always a pleasure to be reunited with you. Great to see you, and thank you for coming on this special Hall of Fame episode.
Oh, thanks, Jess.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Oh, of course. Okay, almost all we got time for. Okay, let me tell you about the feast of football we have for you on Sunday. Top League Spanish action, Deportivo Alaves against Sporting Huelva from 10:55. That's followed by a WSL double-header. Reigning champions Chelsea take on the newbies Leicester from 11:30. That's on Sky Sports Premier League, followed by Arsenal against Everton at 2:30. And then on Monday, something special for you. A WSL Monday Night Football episode. Karen Carney and Kelly Smith will be talking through their teams of the season so far. That's at 6 o'clock, also on Sky Sports Premier League. So we have our very first Hall of Fame inductees. It's been a great show. Thank you for your company. If you're at the Chelsea game at the weekend, I'll see you there. If not, I'll see you next Thursday right here on Inside the WSL.
Sky Sports. Feel it all.